everybody, and welcome to another edition of Joe's Rodshop podcast. All right, so we have got a great show on for you guys today. But before we get started, once again, guys, remember, subscribe to the channel on, doesn't matter what platform you're on, Apple, Deezer, Spotify, YouTube, Facebook. Subscribe to the channel, like the profile, and leave a comment for us. We'd love to hear from you guys. If you subscribe, you actually get a notification when these things are coming out. So yeah, so go out there and go click that button. All right, just a little bit of marketing from my side. Remember, SA Hot Rods Media is out at the moment. We do social media management for all you guys out there who's got shops and work in the motoring industry, race drivers, everyone. If you need someone to help you get your name out there and do your promotion and get some content and stuff out there, give us a call. We manage everything. Like I like to say, you handle the work, we'll make you famous. Now, on to today's show. She is the lady of racing. Her name is Clare Vale. We've been working with her for a very long time. She used to write for SA Hot Rod magazine. We love her to absolute bits. From track racing in the Mustang to drifting in the Fox Body Mustang to the Subaru on the hill climb event, and now in a backdraft Cobra doing circuit racing. She is absolutely phenomenal. She is one of the nicest people that is out there, and we just love her. Sit back and relax. This is Clare Vale. We are talking to Clare Vale. Clare, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Joe.
Now, you're still sitting at the office. I'm sitting at home and I've got wine. So it's not fair at all at the moment, you know?
That's definitely not fair, especially the wine. That's really not fair.
How have you been, Clare? We haven't spoken in a while.
No, it's been a while. You know, there hasn't been a lot of motorsport going on. I think COVID turned everything upside down. So life hasn't really been quite normal. Hopefully this year it's going to become a bit more normal, but of course we don't know, what's going to happen with the famous third wave that might be coming and appears to be coming. So yeah, we hope for the best.
Yeah, I hear everybody's talking about there's this third wave thing on the go at the moment, that I'm just like, I don't know if the economy can handle another one. Hey, it's just so, this causes havoc everywhere. Man,
absolutely. I mean, there's so many, so many businesses haven't come back from it. And, if we have another wave now, it's just going to make things worse.
Exactly. But now, during COVID or just before COVID, you started this new series with Backdraft, didn't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Now, I saw the photos that was out this weekend on, you guys actually did racing, and what, you got fourth? Is that right?
We got third, actually. Third in our class.
Third? Hey.
Yeah.
Nice. Very nice. So
It was fabulous.
Now, tell us about what, okay, for people that know, what is this Backdraft series? I mean, I saw Tony last year when he just started this. I was at his shop and he started telling me everything. But, I mean, you're racing with him. So tell me more about
it. It's actually a fantastic concept, Joe. I think Tony is one of the few people who really wants to give something back to motorsport. He had such a great career and he's such a legend in his own right. And I think he really wanted to put something back. And he created this series where he built 20 backdraft Cobras. They're fantastic cars, Lexus V8. They're fast, they're reliable. And he built 20 cars, and he got together with the South African Endurance Series and created a class for backdraft Cobras only. So it's called Class E. It's all backdrafts. And you can either purchase the car, you can hire the car for a race, or preferably for the whole year, obviously. Mm-hmm. And you could actually drive it with an option to purchase, kind of pay it off almost. So it's a fantastic concept. It's quite amazing. The first all round.
Now, how many races have you guys done so far for this year?
There've been two events, one at Desi in KZN, and then the second one this weekend that's just passed in East London.
And how did you do on the first one?
The first one we unfortunately missed because my co-driver's wife had to have a back op. And then my husband was also not well. Don wasn't well either. So it just didn't work out for us to do the first event.
Okay. But now you came back and you hit a third place. I mean, that's not bad at all.
It's brilliant. We had a really good weekend. It was a high rate of attrition. I mean, there were 25 starters, I think, and I think about probably a third of the field fell out. So yeah, it was pretty good. We finished 7th overall and obviously 3rd in our class on the podium. So yeah, we were really happy about that.
And Claire, how are you finding racing at the moment now with COVID? Because I mean, I know there's restrictions and all this type of stuff. And how does it is it still the same? Is the crowds less? I mean, just can you give us a bit of an overview on that?
Joe, it's the same, but it's also different because at the moment there's still no spectators allowed. So it doesn't affect us perhaps quite as much with an endurance race because, you're on the track and driving all the time. So you're not as aware of the spectators perhaps as you would be normally. But I think it's really hit the motorsport series such as drifting and that sort of thing. I think it's hit them really hard because that's very much a spectator sport. Yeah. And I think they also rely on a gate, in order to keep the series running. Well, so I think it's tough.
We had Annie and Joel from Speed and Sound on, and we were talking about the drag industry and the effect this has had on the drag industry as well, But do you? This is COVID does it. It's not just the fact that spectators. I think a lot of people don't understand. With spectators come sponsorship and stuff. I mean, is that affecting? I mean, you in so many different forms of race. I mean, you do the backdraft, you've got the car for the hill climbs and that type of stuff, and which we'll talk about now. And then you've still got the drift car out there as well. I mean, is this really affecting you as a driver with sponsorship and stuff at the moment?
Yeah, I think it has. I think it's obviously it's more difficult to get the publicity that you were getting before, perhaps because spectators come along and they take photos and they put it out on social media and they talk about things. And, if they're not actually there, there's very little TV coverage as well. So it keeps the spectators in the dark and the fans in the dark to some extent. We obviously do our best to put stuff out on social media and keep people up to date. But yeah, and I think a lot of companies too have looked at things differently since COVID because they don't have as much, it's difficult to justify putting funding into things like motorsport and perhaps other sport and so on. Might be seen as frivolous when there's so many serious things going on.
True.
So I think it's affected everybody.
Look, I mean,
for the backdraft series, if we could get some type of a series sponsor who could put in some travel money for contestants and so on, it would make a huge difference. No, because to grow the series.
Yeah, because I mean when people think about sponsorship on car racing and this type of stuff, everyone thinks about the car and the cost of keeping the car running, which is, I mean, tires, fuel, just maintenance and that type of stuff. But people forget that there's people actually attached to it. You've got a pit crew, you've got yourself, you've got travel, accommodation, getting the car there, setting up, and all this type of stuff that goes into it. And it adds up very quickly,
Oh, that's absolutely, yeah. So yeah, I think overall you'll probably find the numbers on the competitor side have probably dropped quite drastically this year. And of course last year, because I mean last year there was no motorsport at all for probably 2/3 of the year, if not more.
Yeah, no, that's true. That's true. I mean, and it's just got a knock-on effect constantly in the industry. I said it the other day with Mike and stuff. Yeah, the backdraft series to me is very interesting because I mean, it's such a homegrown car now. I mean, when I did the thing with Tony Martin years back, when we put them on the TV show, I think it was the same season we had you on the show. So many people didn't know that backdraft was actually manufactured in South Africa.
Yeah,
and the infrastructure. And yeah, I must say, you want to get like a documentary or something, then there has to be a different way you can get behind a series like that to give more exposure instead of just the normal stuff more than anything else, to create
yeah,
to
absolutely.
create the hype around it a little bit more.
Yes. I think people perhaps don't realize how much companies like Backdraft actually do for South Africa, because they're not only involved in motorsport, obviously, they're building these fantastic cars which they export all over the world, many of them to the States, for example. And they actually employ a lot of people.
Mm.
And,
Tony's infrastructure is
it's
huge.
it's
Absolutely.
amazing. It's actually so impressive.
I was there last year while I was shooting season 4, and I just popped in to say hi with my friend Brett and stuff because I was in the area. I mean, he's added another level. I mean, he's trying to get production. He
Yeah.
needs to get double up on production and all this type of stuff. It was just absolutely crazy. What comes out
Yeah.
of that little space and the amount of cars that he's producing at the moment is absolutely phenomenal.
No, it is phenomenal. And what the things that matter to me that are quite important are, for example, the number of women he employs.
Yes.
His chief, I don't know if you met his
Mama
chief
Chessie.
welding lady. Yeah,
Oh, I
you know,
met Mama Chessie. Yes, I was completely got that wow, she can weld. She can
she's
weld.
awesome.
I mean, I was
So,
completely got say when I sat there and he was telling me how many chassis she does a week, and he goes through, and I think he's employed two or three more Mama Chassis now as well, and she's trained everybody. So, like I said, the skill level and everything that's gone into it was just absolutely phenomenal. But now
yeah.
you from a racing perspective, obviously now with backdraft, does that mean? I mean, but there's not a lot of drifting happening at the moment. What's happening on drifting, or have you heard anything? I haven't spoken to Mike or Jim or anybody in a while.
Um, yeah, I think they're doing their best to get things going again this year. I got an email, I think yesterday or today. There are a couple of events planned for the year. But so far, it's been really quiet. There's not been much happening at all.
And
I
is
don't think I've competed in a drift event since before lockdown, in fact.
really?
But yes, they're doing their best to get it back up and going.
And is the car ready?
No, my car is never ready. A million pieces, but if push came to shove, it would be back together in time. You can be sure.
Definitely. Now the next one that's I wanted to tell you. So I've got this complete fascination at the moment with I'm looking for like a 2008 Jeep SRT8 at the moment, which
Really?
makes it yeah, because I obviously I live in the garden route, so I'm literally like 50 or 60 k's from Neisner,
Yes.
and there's hill climb. I'm
Yes.
burning. I am burning to do hill climb like you can't believe. And then I saw a mail came out yesterday saying that I think on the 30th they're closing all registrations for hill climb because I think it's
Yeah.
in September. And I'm like,
Yes.
I don't think I'm not gonna be able to pull this off in time. So I might need to look to next year. But I want to find like a Jeep SRT8 because it's 4-wheel drive and just
Yeah.
throw a stupidly big supercharger on it, and it's just like this dream I'm sitting with at the moment. So I'm going to be begging my friends at Edelbrock and everybody very soon, as soon as I can find an SRT8 and figure out how I can buy a car that's older than 10 years on finance and then mod the hell out of it. But
That'd
are
be
you
awesome.
going to hill climb this year?
I have entered, yes. So, if all goes well and it happens and everything, I'll be back there with the little Subaru, yes.
And what are you expecting this time? Oh yeah, we're going for dinner this time. Okay, we're definitely
Yes,
doing dinner while
absolutely.
you're in my valley now. So we're gonna go be doing dinner and everything while you're here.
That'd be absolutely great. I hope so. Yeah, because we've missed it now 2 years running. There really hasn't been anything going on, huh?
Yeah, well,
Yeah, it was
it was normal. It was cancelled last year. No, you were here the year before. I was with you the year before. We came to see you.
that was
It
in
was,
May, so it's actually 2 years since the last one.
yeah, because it's normally May, and now they moved it on to September to try and just work with lockdown and all that type of stuff.
Yeah, yeah. So it's a full 2 years. So we're all getting withdrawal symptoms. We all miss it.
Ah,
So yeah, I'm glad to hear it's gone.
I love hill climb. It is seriously one of my favorite speed motoring events at the moment. It's just, how can I put it? It just feels like it's such a nice little community thing together. Once everybody's there, and it's a time. It's like an event where you can get down and meet up with everybody else. But wasn't there a hill climb event in Joburg as well? The Krugersdorp
What?
one or something like that? Oh, I'm losing. I've lost you.
How do you remember where we were?
I have no idea. I just keep going. It's just easier.
Yeah, our power went down in the office. So do you mind if I move
Oh,
to the workshop?
it's
That's right.
load shedding. Lovely.
No, I don't know. The workshop is on, but the office has tripped. So
Oh,
do you mind
okay.
if I move?
No, that's fine. Is Don welding something again, or in the background?
No, he's not. Yeah, it's just me. But there you are. You got a backdraft in the background.
Oh, well, that's beautiful. That's absolutely beautiful.
That's okay.
Now,
Okay, sorry about that.
I want to ask you now, from your perspective. I mean, every time I've got someone who's in racing and drag racing and this type of stuff, we're talking about the situation with racing in South Africa, and where we think we need to go with this. How's your feeling on it at the moment, with where racing is and where it's supposed to be going in South Africa? I know it's a big question.
Yeah, motorsport's a difficult one as well because, because we live in Africa, we live in South Africa, and I think motorsport isn't always seen as being, it's partially seen as being a rich person's sport and not very inclusive. So I think that's something we have to address, and hopefully, little by little, we will. We've got this new GT Racing Association.
Oh, I don't know about that. What's that?
Yeah, it's part of the endurance series as well. They raced this weekend in East London too, and in fact, they made some history because the event was won by Chops and just think carefully, Leclerc. I hope I got his name right. In a Lamborghini, I believe. Sorry, I didn't pay much attention because obviously I was driving in my car.
Yeah.
But it has definitely made some history there because we've never had a duo of black drivers win an event like that before. So that's actually a big step forward, I think. But yeah, so we've got to do a lot more work on the development side, I think, in order to get motorsports, the perception of motorsport to change to some extent.
Yeah, but racing Lambos and Ferraris, doesn't that like kind of throw it in the wrong direction? Because that's now you're racing supercars, It's like we need to fix racing by doing Formula One,
Well, yeah, no, look, my sort of personal view is that I don't think we place enough emphasis on the fact that motorsport employs so many people. And I think we should be perhaps doing some more skills development because there are so many skilled black technical people working in motorsport. As we spoke about, the people who do the welding at backdraft. I was at Century Racing a couple of weeks ago too. And again, most of the people in their facility, also they've got highly skilled black people who they've trained. And I think we should be trying to get more young people to look at going into the technical area and being developed from there. I think that's where
I do feel a lot of people think that South African racing has been a white only type of thing, but that's changing like everything else, progress takes time.
Definitely, yeah.
Like in any other sport that's out there, the only difference is no one's actually forced it that hard. I mean, there's been rallies and that type of stuff, but we need to get to a point where we forget about what color someone is and just what job they do more than anything else.
Yeah.
But the development
Sure.
of motor racing, to me, look, this is why I love like spinning and this type of stuff, because it's that step in.
Mm.
Spinning is taken a form. It's a form of motor racing or motorsport to grassroots levels, and I think that's the problem we have with motor racing, is it's created such a gap between the top level and the bottom level. There's
Yes.
no, there's nothing in between anymore. Yeah. People
Yeah, that's very true, yeah.
they can't comprehend the whole thing. I don't know. Look, I said, I could be talking completely out of my ass at the moment. But I feel like like I said, there should be changes, especially. I mean, we were talking last week with Andy and Joel about drag racing and circuit racing. Drag racing has a much bigger spectator infrastructure, but circuit racing gets more funding. And I did make the comment, but it's also involved with the people that's involved in circuit racing. So you've got a lot of big corporates and CEOs and this type of stuff that's involved in circuit racing. And obviously, if they're there, that's where sponsorships is going to be, because I don't want to say part of the decision makers, but they at least have an influence towards it, which it doesn't. I don't think that helps us in the process, though.
No, I don't think so. I think you're probably right that there are quite a lot of CEOs and people like that who are involved, but I don't think it necessarily follows that they'll bring money. Obviously they're going to fund their own racing and so on, but I don't necessarily think that means they're going to send their corporate money into motorsport. Unfortunately, I wish they would, but no.
Exactly. I also wish they would.
But it's sad. We've lost so many great sponsors like Westbank and Sasol and so many people over the years who've been really strong in motorsport. There's so few of those sort of sponsors left.
Well, I mean, I got really angry a few years ago. I mean, I used to work with Castrol, and Castrol was huge in motorsport. I mean, if you remember, like the Castrol motor shows and all the Castrol stuff, and then they went to soccer, and you're like, the heritage is gone. And my question sits is like, where is NGK and where's Champion and where's all these big motoring brands? And now there was always talking about how they develop. I mean, let me turn it around. So I deal with like Woolwood in the US and this type of stuff, and they look at racing and they go, that's where we develop our product. We learn more out of one race about our product than we learn, and years and just R&D sitting there, because the conditions is there, and you putting your products to completely to the max, and then you sit in South Africa and it's like the US and those countries are doing the testing, and then it comes to South Africa and it's like, nah, it's just they're not there anymore.
That's very true.
Speaking of sponsors, I need Tangle Tree. I need more wine. So if anyone knows anyone from Tangle Tree, sorry.
Yeah.
Everyone's going to start calling this Joe's Booze Show. So anyway. But anyway, you were saying?
No, I think also one of the things, certainly with some of the European sponsors and so on, is motorsport that isn't heading in the direction of electric and so on. I think it's become a bit of a negative thing as far as climate change and that sort of thing goes.
True. But the change is still going to take a while. I mean, look, Ford this launched this week. They launched that electric pickup, which looks like it's absolutely phenomenal. But as much as the conversation is going through, it's still going to take a while to get to South Africa. Yeah. So
Yeah, yes.
What's next for you? And where are you guys going now? What's your plans?
Look, I think we're pretty happy with the Backcraft series at the moment because we're getting an awful lot of seat time and a lot of track time for a reasonable amount of money. And the cars are so much fun. You know, they're fast, they're easy to drive, but they're also nice and basic. You know, there's no ABS, there's no fancy stuff. They're real driver's cars. You know, you actually have to drive them. They're quite old school in that way. So I'm definitely going to carry on with that. Sure, but we'll see what happens with the drifting. At the moment, as I say, drifting is a little bit in the doldrums. We'll see what happens there. And you know, really, I've always had a bit of a lust to go and play in the dirt a bit. You know, a few years ago, I went for a ride at Bradley Star and drove one of the Nissan Navara off-road trucks. So, and that really stuck in my mind. That was pretty awesome.
I saw that truck you went for a drive in the other day.
Yeah, that one I didn't drive. That was the Century buggy. That one I was a passenger. And it was
is insane. That thing is so cool.
It's phenomenal. Hey, you know, that's another company that's building world-class vehicles right here in South Africa and exporting them, and you know, something to be proud of.
I need to go see them and meet and find out more about that. And obviously, so basically, I want to use an excuse so I can go for a drive in one. You know, I did.
It's awesome what they're doing.
A few years ago, when Roush launched the Roush Ranger in South Africa, I was with Jack Roush Jr. and them, and we were in, man, what is that place called? It's there out in close to Pretoria. It's where the testing grounds for racing.
Gerotech.
Yes, I was at Gerotech.
Probably Gerotech.
And Grant, who heads up Roush for South Africa, because I had to get to the airport, and Grant says to me, he's like, Joe, I've got something really special for you. So you can't go yet. You know, you have to go do something first before you can go get on the plane. So I'm like, oh, okay, cool. And the next thing, they drive us at Gerotech into the bush. And there is these two off-road, it's like Dakar Rangers with coyotes in it.
Uh-huh.
And Grant's like, I think I was like the first or the second guy that gets strapped into this thing so I could go for I have never laughed so much in my life. I don't know if I'm too stupid to actually feel fear and this type of stuff, but hitting the dirt track and jumping off rocks with that thing was the best thing ever. I'm like, I could do this for a living. It was absolutely cool.
No, they are fantastic. Oh.
Now, tell me about this truck that you drove. What is that? So that's manufactured in South Africa for export.
Yes, well, obviously they build them here. They race quite a few of them in our local cross-country championship as well. But they're selling a lot of them overseas. They finished Dakar. They'll be doing Dakar again this year. They're world-class buggies, and they the facility there, you really must go and visit, Joe. It's actually brilliant what they're doing there. It's fabulous.
Oh, nice. What motors are they running in there?
They're running an LS. So they're V8s.
See, I get a warm and fuzzy. I get a warm, fuzzy feeling when I hear everyone's running LSs. LS the world.
It's brilliant.
Is it?
Yeah. But look, but they start before you get carried away. I haven't got designs on Dakar or anything like that unless I win the lottery. I just thought it would be really nice to maybe get a sort of a simple buggy or something that one could go and learn the ropes in regional cross country or something like that. But that's a far away thing. We'll see what happens.
I've got a friend in the US. He heads up the marketing for Optima batteries. And during lockdown, we were talking, and he was telling me, and he said to me, listen, I'm going away for a few days and there's no cell phone signal. I'm going to a motoring event, so I'll speak to you afterwards. And I'm like, what motoring event is in the middle of nowhere in the US that, that they don't have cell phone signal? Have you ever heard of King of the Hammer?
I've heard of it, but I don't know much about it.
It's beautiful. It's like, I think it's in Utah, if I'm not mistaken. It's in the middle of nowhere. What's Aaron Croftsman from Gas Monkey, in his TV show that he did, he actually went to I think called King of the Hammer. It is this rugged mountain climbing with 4x4 thing that is in the middle of nowhere. This guy, Chris was actually telling me, this guy started this thing, and this event is just blown out like you can't believe. It's the most insane mudding, trucking. Oh, I'm like, I remember I'm sitting talking to you, and I'm like, I know a bunch of places in South Africa. We can make this work. We just go find a spot, get a few guys.
Make it happen.
It can happen. It can happen. But it's like that. What's that series they've got in the US that jump, the trucks that jump? They do them in street races and stuff as well.
Mm.
Oh, I mean, why can't we get stuff like that? I mean, South Africans, it's like we're taking 4x4 and racing and we're putting them together, Every Boxburg guy with a Nissan Navara and, and a Ranger would love to go do that shit.
It'll be super popular, for sure.
Exactly.
Yeah, so maybe we're getting it all wrong. Maybe that's what we should be doing.
Exactly. We should be jumping trucks and building monster trucks and stuff, because that's that's actually where we want to be. We just don't want to tell anyone. Yeah. But Claire, I've shown. I know we've had some issues with recording and that type of stuff, but it's great to have you on the show. And it's great to talk to you.
Yeah, it's wonderful. Thank you so much. I mean, you've had such amazing people on the show. You've interviewed some absolutely phenomenal people. It's been so interesting to watch.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, I was saying but I said this to Annie and them as well. It's amazing how. I'm fighting for South Africans. I mean, I'm going to send Tony Martin a message because I need Tony on the show. He's probably going to tell me to piss off, but I'm going to ask Tony to get on the show because I know how much he was fighting me when I did the TV show with him, with having him on there. But I want to get more. I want to get a few race legends and stuff on the show as well. But to me, it's been easier to find like a lot of US guys to be on the show. It's been way harder to find South Africans on the show. And
I think they're much
why.
more open to this sort of thing. I mean, I was really nervous about tonight too, because I've never really done a Zoom interview too, and I was not sure how it was going to work. And, so yeah, maybe we're not so techno savvy, although we're much better now since lockdown, I guess. But
exactly,
I think the Americans are pros. They're good at marketing themselves and marketing motorsport.
But
we need to get better.
But this is something you and I actually had a conversation about a while back, is how a lot of race drivers in South Africa just aren't marketing themselves. They don't know. I did that. I don't know if you saw the interview I did with Mike Carpenter, who's a racing promoter. I mean, he promotes like Lizzie, Musi, and Carl Kelly, and all these cool guys. And he was saying, and we were saying, it's weird how you can get someone who completely sucks at racing, but he knows how to promote himself, and he can get great sponsorship and everything because he's got this massive following. But the great racing people that are out there, they struggle with the promotional part of the racing, because that's the big thing to get sponsors. Sponsors is about numbers. I mean, you know this. You've had to deal with a lot of sponsors. The first thing they want to know is what you're following, because people have to understand that for a brand to sit behind you, it's not just about what they're doing for you as Claire, but it's what is Claire doing for us? What's Claire doing for our brand?
Definitely.
Does it? And it comes down to rand and cents. Does putting money behind that person going to relate back in us making money, selling our product and getting our product out there. Those two are that's like a line between the two. And
No,
I mean,
definitely.
maybe a big step that a lot of race drivers need to look at is that gap between them and their fans, and how to close the gap between the fans. Because I mean, we were saying like and it was hill climb was a big way where you've got all the race drivers and everybody on one side, and you had the spectators on the other side, and it's only a VIP thing that can get across.
Yeah.
And I was saying how, when Monster Jam and those guys were here, they take time for fans. They actually build in a session where they go and they've got their T-shirts and their merchandise and posters, and they just sign things. Because like you, I mean, there's a lot of girls out there that want to meet you because you're inspiration to them. And I think that's a form that racing needs to start looking at, is how do we start promoting our races again?
Yeah, very much so. As the problem at the moment is, of course, not having spectators. So everything you do, if you're interacting with fans and people and so on, everything's kind of at arm's length or through social media. So yeah, it's quite difficult because most races, like me and most of the other races out there, we're not full-time racers. We've all got day jobs and run businesses and so on. And, doing serious social media is quite a commitment. It takes time. It takes, it's a two-way thing. People respond, and then you need to be interactive. So that, it's also a bit of a challenge in that way. For a lot of people, they just perhaps don't have the time or the inclination to put the hours in on social media that you actually need to do to make contact with people and interact with people and, show them that you care. It's important. If somebody takes the trouble to say something and comment on something of mine, then, I actually want to go back to them and say, well, thank you. Thanks for taking the time.
Exactly. You've actually been very active. So yeah, so what is the next race? What's next?
The next race, next up for us will be Swartkops. That's another 4 hour in the backdrafts. And then we have another race in East London this year. We've got one in PE. And of course, the 9 hour in Cape Town at the end of the year again. And in between, we've got the Hill Climb. So yeah, lots to look forward to.
All right. So I'm going to see you at Hill Climb, and you better be talking to me, because I don't know where you guys are staying, or if you need a place to stay, let me know. We're like 40 minutes away from the track, but I've got extra garages and everything here. Okay. And if you need parts, I know everyone. But we're definitely going for dinner and stuff when you get here. Claire, it was awesome to talk to you, definitely. And we need to get some articles from you again at some other point. I'm sure people want to hear from you again. We don't print them anymore, but SA Hot Rods Media, my page, does extremely well. So let's get some stories out.
Now, I miss the writing. I'd love to do that. Thank you.
Yes, definitely. Let's get out and let's get promoting and stuff again. All right. Okay. You go home now.
No, I think I'm on. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Lovely talking to you.